Welcome to Only for Your Ears. And first, I'd like to thank all the people that have liked, shared, and subscribed and left a comment. This is very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Now, with the episode 37, What I'd Like to Invent, or What One Would Invent, by Hans Christian Andersen, which I've renamed as The Unimaginable Landscape of the Mind. First, we'll start off with a summary where I'll digress and I'll make a reflection. Then I will do a parallel with the fairy tale and today's society using a film or a book. Then the trigger points, positive or negative. Let's begin with the unimaginable landscape of the mind, or What I What One Would Invent by Hans Christian Andersen is a fairy tale that tells the story of a young man who aspires to be a poet by Easter, marry, and live by his poetry. I digress. This is a bit of an unrealistic time frame, a bit like a child that wants everything to happen at once without living life. However, he struggles to invent anything new as he feels everything has been written and told before. I digress. He obviously doesn't realize his own perception of life is what will make him unique. Desperate, he seeks the help of a wise woman who lives in a small house by the roadside. His first reflection. Inspiration in everyday life. The tale teaches that inspiration can be found in the simplest and most mundane aspects of life. I digress. This is very true. The potato, slow, bush, and bees all have their unique stories, reminding readers that even the most ordinary things can be a source of inspiration, of observed and appreciated with the right mindset. A perfect conclusion. The wise woman's house is surrounded by useful things like a beehive, a potato field, and an earth bank with slow bushes, which is a type of cherry or plum, but they have to be cooked as the taste is very, very bitter and sharp. The young man begins to realize that there is still much to learn and write about. I digress. You never arrive at the end of learning. It's a life lesson. The wise woman lends him her spectacles, gaffers, as they call in Spanish, and ear trumpet, and asks him to listen to the stories of the potato, the slow bush, and the bees. The potato sings about his history and struggles it and and the struggles it's faced before being recognized as a valuable vegetable resource. The slow bush tells the romantic tale of Northam discovering Greenland, where he found slow bushes with a blue black grapes. The young man then observes the bustling beehive and learns about the labor and life within it. I digress. The process is quite long and life has unexpected twists and turns. Reflection. The power of nature and the ordinary. The tale serves as a reminder of the inherent beauty and wisdom in nature and the ordinary things around us. But listening to the stories of the potato, slow bush, and bees, the young man learns valuable lessons that he could not find in books or through conventional learning. This underscores the idea that wisdom can be found in unexpected places and that nature and the ordinary can offer profound insights and inspiration. I digress. Look at the simplicity of the French fries, English fish and chips, and crisps, as we call them in England. which seems like an everlasting invention that's commercials taken over the globe. The wise woman then leads the young man to the earth bank, overlooking the highway filled with people. She advises him to immerse himself in the crowd and observe them with the right perspective, as well as open an open ear and heart. I digress. She's right. He needs to gather different perspectives before he can write poetry. Before he leaves, she takes back her spectacles and ear trumpet, leaving the young man feeling lost. I digress. I'm sure he felt empty, confused, and scared without the safety net of the wise woman. Reflection. The importance of observation. The story highlights the significance of having the right perspective in life. The young man initially believes that everything has been written and told, but the wise woman shows him that there is still much to discover and write about. But changing his viewpoint and learning to appreciate the ordinary things around him, the young man realizes there is still potential for creativity and innovation. I digress. Life isn't just made up of one size fits all. We were born as individuals, so we will have different perspectives of the same thing. Realizing that he cannot become a poet by Easter, the young man asks when he will be able to do so. The wise woman tells him that he will never learn how to invent anything, but he can still earn a living by attacking other poets and their works. I digress. This was a premature statement that discouraged the potential of this young man's impressionable mind. Following her advice, the young man critiques every second poet, earning enough to support himself and his wife. I digress. I believe it was her unwise to follow. The woman said it was it was unwise for him to follow what the woman said, and maybe he was too much of an inside the box person to become a creative person. The story, as told by the wise woman, serves as a reminder of the importance of perspective and the endless possibilities for invention and creativity in the world around us. I digress. I believe this woman, like a lot of people, acted as a wedge to this person's freedom of expression, just like parents still do today. A reflection. The role of hard work and persistence is important in this story. The story also underscores the importance of the persistence in achieving one's goals. The young man wants to become a poet by Easter, but does not put in the necessary effort to truly understand and appreciate the world around him. It suggests that success and creativity cannot be achieved overnight, but through continuous learning, exploration, and perseverance. I digress. The young man is impatient and doesn't have the endurance to go the distance. This has to do with the insufficient support system, either within himself or externally. It also mirrors the attitude or the new millenniums. They want instant gratification without the stamina to invest in a goal. Now for my critical review. This was an interesting fairy tale, I thought, with some real realistic points to it. My critical review on how the fairy tale plays in today's society. This is another fairy tale that touched my heart. It's about a man who has a lofty vision for his life, but doesn't have the patience to follow it through. How many of us have had great soaring ideas to only see it fall flat on its face like a sponge cake we've taken out of the oven too quickly? Sad to say, this has happened all too often. It's a bit like starting, for example, a podcast and having no real idea the amount of work you have to do to invest in content and to mount the episode, let alone advertise, etc., to attract consistent stream of viewers. Anyway, you get my point. When I take a rear view look at my life, I'm so grateful I never experienced this instant success where I tried something the first time and everything went perfectly. How many people have had that experience? Very few. I've always had to try again and again from different angles, of course, until I made a breakthrough. The book, The Death of a Salesman, written by Arthur Miller, has caught my attention, where I could learn a few valuable lessons. In The Death of a Salesman, it addresses the loss of identity and a man's inability to accept change within himself and society. The play is a montage of memories, dreams, and confrontations and arguments, all of which make up the last 24 hours of Willie Loman's life. An inventor, a creative, constantly, constantly have to change with the times while maintaining their original integrity of what sparked their creative juices in the first place. This is very difficult, people, but it's also an essential, which isn't always easy. I think Steve Jobs was right. You've got to love what you do. Forget about trying to achieve the impossible based on self imposed deadlines. We have all been impatient, and the definition to patience is long suffering, which sounds like rotten tasting medicine that's good for us. Through our long suffering, we gather wisdom from our life lesson, which gives us something to write, sing, dance, paint, construct about. The Taj Mahal was a construction after the King of India lost his favorite and youngest wife. The Taj Mahal took 22 years to build and decorate. Sagrada Familia is another monumental design by the world famous Antonio Gaudi, which is determined to be finished by 2040 if we're lucky. So, as you can see, things take time. In The Death of a Salesman, he was reluctant to change just one person. Can you imagine how long it would take for a percentage of society to accept a new innovative concept or something original? This aspiring poet was in love with his fairy tale, but the perseverance to continue his dream was missing. Creating innovative ideas for aviation was like the dot com of that time. Everybody was trying to create the next advancement in flight. This is about the Wright brothers. Back in the time of the Wright brothers, figuring out how to advance aviation was the dot com of their time. Everybody wanted to do it. And the lead contender was a man called Samuel Pierpont Langley. How grand. He was well known and well respected. He was funded by the War Department So he had a lot of money. He had the dream team on his side to do this project. The newspaper followed him around like he was the main competition, and he was very envious of other inventors like Thomas Edison. Samuel wanted to be famous. That's what he wanted. He was very selfishly motivated, and Samuel created the tools and the mechanism to making him rich and famous. It sounds a little bit like the poet. The poet was in love with the idea of becoming uh, famous, but he had no real passion, I don't think. At the time of the Dayton, at the same time, off in Dayton, Ohio, two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, had a bike shop. Can you imagine? A bike shop. They had no funding, and the only team they had was people that worked in the shop. The difference is they had a vision, whether it be love or whatever, vision of love, the song, and felt if they could figure out this flying thing, it would have tremendous influence and change the world. So, this was their shared motivating force. They felt day after day they weren't making any money. And lo and behold, when they figured out how this flying machine would work, there wasn't anyone recording it except for the Wright brothers themselves. And when Samuel Pierpont Langley caught wind of this news, what do you think he did? Do you think he jumped up for joy and said, good, now I can do an innovation. I can congratulate these people, but I can do better. I can do an advancement on this. No, I can improve on this. No, he didn't. He didn't feel motivated at all to improve on his invention. Instead, he gave up and started something new. He had no passion, no passion whatsoever. And the most important thing about this invention, and I would say about a lot of inventions, is that you must have a vision, you must have perseverance, consistency, patience, and also a really passionate, a great team. You have to have a great team, people. It's really important. It doesn't matter how introverted you are. You need to have people around you that are willing to help and support you. Irene Brockovich. Now, even though Irene Brockovich didn't really invent a style of being a lawyer, she brought something back into the justice system that was missing. And you'll hear some of it through this story. So Irene Brockovich, in 1993, Irene Brockovich, an unemployed single mother of three children who has recently been injured in a traffic accident with a doctor and is suing him. Her lawyer, Ed Marcy, expects to win, but Irene's explosive courtroom behavior under cross examination loses the case. Yeah, this is a woman that is just very, very passionate, very opinionated, and just gets really, just loses her temper, loses her cool. And Ed will not return her phone calls afterwards. One day he arrives at work and finds her in the office, apparently working. She said he told her things would work out and they didn't, and that she needed a job. Ed takes pity on Irene and she gets a paid job at the office. Irene is given files for a real estate case where the Pacific Gas and Electric Company is offering to purchase the home of Donna Jensen, a resident of Hinckley, California. Now, Irene is surprised to see a lot of medical reports, pardon me, that's connected to this real estate company that wants to buy this particular apartment. So what happens is she starts to investigate. She starts to see that this woman has that is selling the house. She has lymphoma. She has a type of lymphoma which is Hodgkin's disease, which is a type of lymphoma that it can be cured. If you get another type of lymphoma, it's very, very dangerous. And so she starts asking her questions about why she wants to move. What's wrong with the house? And she explains, well, it's nothing that's so much wrong with the house. It's the amenities, it's the water, it's the gas, it's the electricity, it's all these different things that are giving off bad fumes. It's not environmentally clean and it's causing a lot of diseases. And she's not the only one. So she goes further into this investigation and starts to investigate the company. But PGE, the electric company, has always supplied a doctor at their expense. Irene asks why they would do that, and Donna replies because of the chromium. Irene begins digging into the case evidence that the groundwater in Hinckley is seriously contaminated. And this is what's causing all the people in the environment to get sick and all types of life threatening diseases. Well, she wins the trust of all these people in the community and she becomes the lead counsel in the case against this water and electrical company. And after much hard work, she wins the case. And people, I think the people, they wanted to give them like $350,000. They ended up getting $333 million. And they had more money than they could ever imagine, each person. So this was a really, really stunning victory for them. So it wasn't what you call an invention, but I think it was it was a different style of winning a case for the people and not for what you call the companies. Last last but not least, we have another one, Coco Chanel. So Coco Chanel, everybody knows about Coco Chanel being this phenomenal designer. And how she got her start was the film opens up showing Gabrielle Chanel and her sister Adrienne being abandoned by their father at an orphanage. Gabrielle awaits every Sunday for their father to visit, but he never shows up. We learned later from Gabrielle's own reminiscence that her parents' marriage made her more extremely unhappy, made her mother extremely unhappy, and that the father abandoned the two little girls after their mother's death. Okay, here we go. It also emerges that shortly after abandoning the two little girls, their father left France to try his fortune in America. Several years down the line, we find a young Gabrielle Chanel working in a provincial bar. She works as a seamstress for the performers by day and as a cabaret singer. Imagine that. Cabaret singer by night, singing and dancing with Adrian, a song about a little dog named Coco that gets lost at the Trocadero in Paris. Gabriel and Adrian resist being confused with the hookers whose services are purchased by the male customers. Anyway, what happens is Coco starts to date this English man. He's quite wealthy, and she gets what's the word, inspired by his clothing. You know, all the clothes back in those days was very fancy, elaborate, lots of lace, lots of bright colors. And this Englishman that she was dating, she liked his kind of very suave, cool, sophisticated look. And this is where, can you imagine, this very feminine line of clothing was actually influenced by uh, an Englishman. This French designer was so smitten with this Englishman and his clothes that she became famous for this style of casual clothing. And then, of course, she developed the line, and she became the famous Chanel. So, but she had problems. She had difficulties. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at first. And I'm sure it wasn't easy to change the French mentality's way of thinking about things because everything was very elaborate. It's a bit like their food. At one stage, everything was cream and globs of cheese. And I think about 15, 16 years ago, the French cuisine just changed to more like spring vegetables and light sauces. So it takes a while for things to change. And when you're inventing something, when you're becoming an inventor, this is what you're actually doing. You're not only inventing something new, you're also helping to influence and shape the minds and the attitudes that attract the people in society that are actually going to buy your product or be influenced by your product. So let's move on to the trigger points. Okay. Black beauty. We have black beauty, and we also have Hedy Lamar, which I'd like to talk about. Very interesting. And I also like to give a reflection on my own life as well when it comes to. Okay, let's take a look at the trigger points. I would say most of them are quite balanced. They have some negative points, but they also have some positive points. Something that triggered me was Black Beauty. All right. Now, Black Beauty has been discussed so much in all over the world because we're such a diverse culture, such a diverse group of people. We're such a diverse group of people, and we go from looking almost blue black from Africa and going through caramel color, yellow, high yellow, red, almost a little orange, white, and almost where we could actually pass as white. Whereas there was a book that came out in the United States a long time ago, about 20 years ago, and it spoke about a lot of black people that could pass as white because they were so fair and they were mixed with white because of slavery. So, and the colonies. So We are extremely diverse. I'm very diverse. I mean, just as a person anyway, but also with my family. I have Indian, I have white, and I have African. So born Sarah Beloved, Madam C.J. Walker became the first black woman millionaire. Can you imagine? By inventing a line of cosmetics and hair products aimed at black consumers in the first decades of the 20th century. Walker pioneered the uses of female sales agents who traveled door to door across the US and Caribbean selling her products. An active philanthropist, Walker also was an early champion of employee development and ordered business training and other educational opportunities to her workers as a means of helping other Black women achieve financial independence. I mean, she was definitely an inventor. I mean, who would have thought that this woman invented, helped to create programs to allow women, black women, to become emancipated in the beauty industry? The influence of the white appearance on black cosmetics and hair fashion. Well, of course, most, unless you are very mixed, but most black people have very tight curly hair, stubborn, tight curly hair. And so we used perms to straighten our hair to give us that straight, long, flowing hair like Naomi Campbell in our backs. So we were very influenced by the Caucasian look because white was the trend. And not only that, to be white, to be a black person that looked almost white, we were much more acceptable. Hollywood and straightening of the hair and the light skin. Well, again, this is the same thing. And in Hollywood, if there were black people that could pass as white, and if they had a dark skin that was just a little bit too dark, they actually whitened their skin, lightened their skin. And it still happens today. A lot of people from Africa, I've met a lot of people from Africa that are almost black, that are much lighter than I am. And I'm not as light as Beyonce, but I would say I'm almost halfway there to the color of Beyonce. And they lightened their skin much lighter than Beyonce, so they could fit in to the society in Europe and be accepted. But it doesn't matter how you lighten your skin. If you are black, you're going to always be black. Lupita Nyong'o and her struggles with black beauty. Now, when Lupita came on the scene, this was incredible. She really has become an incredible role model. She really has become such an incredible role model for so many black actors and actresses, all over the world that feared that for the color of their skin and being so dark that she would never get any roles and that she could never win an Oscar. Well, lo and behold, she was on the verge of changing her skin color, lightening it when she saw one of the most beautiful black models that she's ever seen in her life. That was, I think she's from Africa. And she had this blue black skin, and she said, "This woman is so beautiful. I can't believe I wanted to change the color of my skin." And when she saw how beautiful she was, and that you could be black, that black, and be so amazingly beautiful, she changed her mind. And thank God for it. Bo Derek, Bo Derek, a white woman who fell in love with like the Bob Marley. dreadlocks. And so it's both ways. You know, black people have been influenced by white people and their ethnic look, and white people have been definitely influenced by black people and our ethnic look. So it works both ways. It's positive. It's positive all the way, people. It's a win-win-win. Okay, let's take a look at Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr is often recognized as an early Hollywood starlet with film credits such as Algiers and Boomtown. An inventor, she was. Lamar made significant contributions to radio and technology and systems. During World War II, she invented a radio guidance system for torpedoes. The frequency hopping technology has been used as a Wi Fi and Bluetooth. She was an Austrian American Hollywood actress with Austro Hungarian roots in the Royal Military. This is a good trigger, people. She was more than just a pretty face. That must have been intimidating for the misogynistic male counterparts that she had to deal with. Jane Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe were all Hollywood starlets and buxom blondes that people just wrote off as being dumb blondes. But in actual fact, Jane Mansfield spoke at least five languages, and Marilyn Monroe was incredibly intelligent. So here we go. It's amazing how people have been able to invent in so many ways through being resourceful and using everyday things, everyday necessities, people. Now, let's take a look at my struggle with being present and recognized as a creative person. Now, I think I've been inventing all my life in a way. I have books of different ideas, creative ideas that I have wanted to use, and I still have books full of different ideas. I just need to be able to connect with the right people. Yes, actually get a team of people around me to work with. This is one of my manifestations, people, because I know that I am meant to be a creative person and God wants to use me in so many ways in the creative field. When He decides He's going to use me, one minute it's fashion design, next minute it's dancing and choreography, next minute it's writing a poem. He uses me in different. One minute it's food stylist. There's so many different ways that he's wanted to use me um, creatively, and I've really had a struggle with that. I think I've had a struggle with my creativity and my inventive qualities because I am a very different person by nature. And when I say different, you know, a lot of people think, well, if you're different, you must be gay. There's nothing wrong with being gay. And if I were gay, I were gay. But I'm not gay. But being different, the type of person that cannot be labeled is a big problem in society because in today's society, just like I mentioned in my first episode, the ugly duckling, people want you to fit into their little groups in society. So you're all the same. And if they come across somebody that's not just like them, they feel insecure. And what they do next is try to bring that person down that is different. I saw a quote that is really quite remarkable, and it's in a business English book actually. It says, one should accept, no, accept and recognize people's differences, but embrace people's similarities. So even though there are people in the world that are quite different from us, we all have similarities. And one of the biggest similarities is we have on this planet is that we're all human beings. So there you go. But I have struggled, and I have struggled with being recognized, with having my creativity being recognized, because of course, you have the jealous people that want to steal your ideas and want to claim it for themselves, which has been somewhat difficult. But I know I am an original. And I'm not worried about people so much stealing and trying to copy my work because they're not me. They're not me. And God has made me this particular way so I can speak and use my voice in a particularly unique way. So even though people may want to copy my work and may want to steal it, in the end, they are not made up with the essence of where those original ideas came from, and they will not be able to repeat them as an original idea again. If they want to do something original, it won't come out of them the same way that it came out of me. It just won't, because we're two different people. So I'm going to continue with my inventions and my creativity. And I really hope that opportunity opens doors for me where I can work with people in a creative sphere. So thank you very much. And this is the end of today's episode, the unimaginable landscape of one's mind. Let's leave it at that. And I'd like to say thank you very much for sharing, liking, subscribing. And I will leave with my closing remarks, and that is healing is a lifelong blessing we give ourselves, mind, body, and soul. Healing is a lifelong lesson, blessing, and gift we give ourselves, mind, body, and soul. Until next time, bye bye.